collapse of a carriage horse in Hell's Kitchen last week. And something special this weekend for fans of the Hulu hit Only Murders in the Building, an immersive experience in the Flatiron District. A decent day so far on Wall Street. The Dow up 248 points. S&P is ahead about 5 points. NASDAQ, though, has dropped 35. AccuWeather says high 83 today in sunshine. Then some clouds, maybe a shower tonight, low 67 in Midtown. Winds new time 241. Let's get traffic and transit now from Greg Rice.
Well, we still can't solve the Belt Parkway. Eastbound getting over to Pennsylvania Avenue. You got the left lane out being caused of an accident. A very slow go all the way back to Nap. Westbound side of the Belt over at Cropsey Avenue with a crash, and the crawl goes right on back towards Flatbush Avenue. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Citybound side of the George Washington Bridge, you still have about a 10-minute ride getting into the city at this point. Northbound west side, southbound Eagan, a leaf bag getting you out. Lincoln Tunnel's about 10 minutes in or out. Holland about 10 in, 10 to 15 out. Whitestone and Throgsmith getting worse side away for all but falls, but it's got plenty. The RFK, the best of it across the Upper East. Car fire still slows you up on the Garden State Parkway south end near 148. You got at least one lane subject to closure, and that's going back towards exit 153. Also in New Jersey, the New Jersey Turnpike Western Spur northbound at 15W. Right lane still shut because of a flipped over tractor trailer. And truck route 1 and 9 southbound of the Hackensack River Drovers. You got a breakdown blocking the right lane. I'm Greg Rice. Our next report at 2:51 on 1010 WIN.
Only a few weeks to go until the start of the new school year, so the Department of Education is out today with its new COVID protocols. We have a few noteworthy changes to report.
The New York City public schools will no longer randomly test students for COVID-19 when the new school year begins September 8th. Instead, test kits will be sent home to students, parents, and teachers to use in the event they are exposed to the virus. Students will no longer be required to submit a daily health screening form. Masks are not required either, but are strongly recommended if there's exposure. And students and staff must wear masks when returning to school on the 6th through 10th day after showing symptoms or testing positive. Vaccination is still required for adults, not for students, unless they're doing close contact after-school sports. Aaron Katursky, ABC News for 1010 WINS.
And again, that first day of classes less than a month away, so mark it down. School begins Thursday, September 8th. Well, 15 years after it first opened its doors, the 9/11 Tribute Museum closes them for a final time today. The museum's Greenwich Street location is shutting down for good after the pandemic left the facility unable to cover its operating costs. The 9/11 Tribute Museum was established by the families of FDNY heroes and is only blocks from the National September 11th Memorial Museum, where the Twin Towers once stood. But it relied heavily on international tourism. The facility saw about 150,000 visitors a year before COVID, which dropped to only about 26,000 last year. The good news is that the 9/11 Tribute Museum will continue to have an online presence, including videos, educational resources, and support for the 9/11 community. Much of its collection will be moved to the New York State Museum in Albany. Police are trying to track down a Honda sedan after a hit and run this morning in Queens that put a 44-year-old man in the hospital. The victim is in critical condition after being struck around 2 a.m. this morning. Investigators say he was trying to cross Roosevelt Avenue at 77th Street in Elmhurst when it happened. The car, being described as a gray two-door Honda sedan, it had been headed east when it struck the victim and never stopped. WINS News Time 2:44. Animal rights activists gathering today outside the Manhattan DA's office demanding action after a heartbreaking incident caught on video last week, the collapse of a carriage horse on the street in Hell's Kitchen.
The Group 9 class chanting their plea, and a witness came forward. Caroline Smith saw the horse named Ryder 4 hours before it collapsed, saying the horse was struggling and the driver kept urging it on.
We were walking around Central Park taking pictures when I noticed this horse barely walking. She was struggling to keep pace, and there was another horse right behind her.
Meanwhile, carriage driver and shop steward Christina Hansen claims the witness was coached.
I spoke to the carriage driver after about it, and he says it's nonsense about him yelling at the horse in person and stuff like that. Picture seems to show the horse walking along nice.
The DA's office says it's reviewing the incident. Roger Stern, 1010 WINS in Lower Manhattan.
And despite the explanation, animal rights activists say they'd like to see carriage horses be replaced by cruelty-free electric carriages on city streets. WINS News Time at 2:45. Well, some good news for older folks who Hearing isn't as good as it used to be. That story just ahead.
You know those headlines that make you stop scrolling and actually read an article? I'm Mike Rogers. Those are the kinds of stories I'm diving into on my podcast, Something